Let's talk about these trash ass the challenge ratings. It's funny you had all these alumni of Big Brother talking about Big Brother's ratings. You got random people online talking about Big Brother's ratings, when in reality, it has bled the least from the 3 seasons prior. 20 and 21's Big Brother ratings went down double digits, like I talked about last week. And then now you have the challenge 37. I thought it was on pace to, lose a third of its audience. It can frankly be on pace to lose half of its audience from last season if things don't get better because they're looking pretty damn bleak. I get all these comments on, well, I don't get a lot because I don't play, but there's some comments once in a while talking about the cookout, being anti-white or whatever. And I see a lot of those comments on a lot of other channels. But the Challenge 37 is a good example of why the cookout needed to finally be a thing on one of these goddamn shows, because white players on Big Brother, The Challenge, or Survivor have a history of trying to get out the black players early in the game. And we're seeing that on The Challenge. You can't tell me you're going to target rookies, but you're only targeting the black rookies. It's like veiled as you're targeting the rookies, but you're only targeting the black rookies, making excuses and lies of why. It ain't working in the ratings anyway. So I'm surprised all the people mad about the cookout aren't watching the challenge, but nobody's watching the challenge. It can give you memories of when Big Brother used to be so anti-black. If you're watching this season of the fucking challenge, I ain't watching. I just have spoilers, and I knew a lot of the spoilers going into the season, which is why I'm not covering season 37 of this shitty ass season. Now, the ratings on Wednesday were an all-time low. Wednesday's ratings for the challenge barely stood above 500,000 viewers, barely above 500,000. It is a big fall for what has been an odd era of the challenge. You see, the last 4 seasons of the challenge, 3 of those seasons seemed like they were like a renaissance for the show, where we had at least 2 or 3 episodes of the 3 of those seasons getting above 1 million viewers. Now, then we also had, during that 4 season run, we had a War of the Worlds 2, which up until now was and is the lowest viewed, lowest rated season of all time. That's because it was a very boring season. But now the Challenge 37 is the worst start to a season since 10 seasons ago. Bloodlines had a really bad start to that season. It is also one of the lowest rated seasons of all time, 10 seasons ago. But I think this season's gonna be the worst rated season of all time. I mean, it's already on pace to be that, possibly by far, because the average for lowest rated season for War of the Worlds 2 was like 731,000 viewers. This season has yet to even come close to that, with the first 2 episodes struggling to be over 600,000. And the last episode barely struggling to be above 500,000. And I think it's a lot of things. The whole boot list of it being a bunch of black people going, that isn't going to stop, by the way, is not going to help the viewership. And which is why I find it funny, the pushback on Big Brother by white fans is that the ratings are going to fall. The ratings are going to fall. Why is the season so diverse? Basically, is the complaining. And then reality comes to smack them in the face, and I too love to be that reality that just smacks shit posters that talk out of their ass. Because then you have the challenge, you get your usual Big Brother boot list order, a bunch of black people going home, and it's the worst watched, lowest rated season ever. It's what it's going to be. Somehow it has a big turnaround, but I don't think it's going to happen. So that's one factor. Another factor, I just think they cast weak rookies, and then you have the most interesting rookies going home first. But the biggest problem is the vets. You want Josh to be one of the big dogs? You got you have a bunch of boring people in this season. It's like they really took the most boring and hated bets and brought them to the season. Casting is a huge problem, and you're going to see it again when you see the official cast of All Stars for the challenge being a bunch of people you probably don't even fucking know or remember or care about, because the casting of these shows looking bleak right now. So you put casting problems with a bunch of unlikable, boring people, and oh, the big thing I didn't talk about is that the last 3 seasons have been just atrociously edited. Since War of the Worlds 2, which was the lowest rated season up until this one, it's just been really bad editing. They just drag shit out. They don't show enough interesting drama, don't show enough hookups. They really try to make the challenges be the big part of the episodes, like it's a sport, and it ain't. So they need to get back to having entertainment on this show, and they need better casting on this show, because the show had a bit of a renaissance once it hit the 30s. I talked about Bloodlines, that era, like 26, season 26 through 29. It was looking very bad for the show. I think people were tired of the casting, tired of the cast, tired of everything going on. We had Dirty 30, which went up, I think, just because it was like a big season 30. And then since then, they've tried to like reinvent the show, because before it was just, well, obviously started with people from Real World and Road Rules being casted. And then they started adding Are You the One, starting to just do other MTV shows. And now these last like 7 seasons, they've just tried to add people from a bunch of different shows. But I think that too has probably it's grown old for the show, because they just don't have likable vets. And the really old vets like CT, I'm hard pressed to think people actually still care, just being honest. So they've just not, it's honestly similar to wrestling in a way, when you're just not building up new stars, and the stars you're building up are either really bland, or people don't care, or people don't like them. And here we are with the challenge. It's the same thing. All the vets they have right now, or at least the vast majority, aren't working. They aren't ratings grabs. People are bored or dislike Tori. People are bored or dislike fucking Fessy. Mostly dislike Fessy. He's not a viable heel, as you can tell, because he's not drawing viewers. So yeah, trash ass season's gonna get trash ass ratings. It's what the show deserves for getting into this spot. Having a problematic start too. It's like the opposite of Big Brother, except one season has kind of stopped the bleeding for a franchise. The other one, whew, if it really stays on the pace it's going and loses half of its audience. I have not seen a show lose half of its audience in a long time. There's a lot of talk about over the last 10 years, most of television loses ratings, and that's true, but not this bad at once. This is really bad ratings for the challenge. Don't make any mistake about that. You lose half of your audience, or at least on pace to lose half of your audience from the year before. It's bad, and it's going to lose a third. So it will lose at least a third of its audience from season 36 to season 37. So that if that doesn't tell you you're doing something wrong, I don't know what fucking will.